What's going on, guys? Doomwake here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Because you guys seem to like that first Timeless video so much, we are going to be playing a little bit more Timeless. And I actually built quite a few decks. I think I have like 7 or 8 decks built right now, and working on building a couple of more. So I am really getting into this Timeless format, and like I said, you guys seem to like the very first one. In that first video, we played not Amulet, we played Primeval Titan Field of the Dead, and what better way to kind of follow up that with a deck that features 4 copies of main deck Blood Moon. This is Ponza. What's kind of shocking to me is you can basically play this exact deck in Modern, and it's actively good with the exception of Deathrite Shaman. For those of you who are unfamiliar with kind of the Ponza archetype, I'm still not 100% sure where the name derives from. Be sure to let me know in the comments. I think it's something to do with like a sandwich in New Jersey, but we don't have any sandwiches in our deck. What we do have is a bunch of mana accelerants. We have Delighted Halfling, Utopia Sprawl, and Deathrite Shaman. And what we are doing is we always want to have a 1 mana accelerant followed by a powerful 3 mana play. So again, Halfling, Sprawl, Deathrite Shaman all accelerate you to 3 mana on turn 2. What are we casting on turn 2? Well, we have the aforementioned Blood Moon, 4 copies. One thing that I've noticed after playing this deck for, I think I've played like 10 or so games, or, a couple of matches too, is a lot of decks in the format just kind of can't beat Blood Moon. It's really good. There's a ton of Fetch Shock mana bases, the, aforementioned Primeval Titan Field decks, Uro, Oko, all those decks are just playing, even Domain Zoo. A lot of these decks are just really cold to a Blood Moon. So we have 4 copies of those. We have 4 Stone Rains. This is the only land destruction spell in the format. There are no Molten Rains, no Pillages, so Stone Rain is all we got. We're going to play 4 copies. And then card draw, we have 4 Fable the Mirror Breaker. Just helps you kind of fix your draws, accelerates you to your 4 mana plays, which we'll talk about in a second. And the backside can get a ton of value and, kind of just close out a game where when you have Blood Moon and both players aren't really doing anything, you need ways to close the game, and Fable can help do that while also accelerating you and card filtering. And then Seasoned Pyromancer, kind of a lot of the same with Fable, just card filtering, can put up to 4 power into play, which is, can close the game pretty quickly. And then we have 1 copy of Clothis, which you don't want to play a ton of copies because it is a legendary card, so, second one's not very good. But the first copy is decent, and there's a lot of, like I said, Deathrite Shaman and Lurrus decks, so being able to target the graveyard in some fashion is particularly strong. And then the 4 drops, this is kind of our very top end. We have 4 Karn the Great Creator, so you'll note Karn the Great Creator. You'll notice that in our sideboard, we have quite a few 1-mana artifacts to search for. We'll go over those in a second. And then 3 copies of One Ring. Why are we not playing 4? It's because we have the 4th one in the sideboard to be able to fetch with Karn. Mana base, pretty straightforward. Fetch lands for Deathrite Shaman, Stomping Grounds, a bunch of basics to you want a ton of basic forests because you are a Blood Moon deck, and then 1 Soak and Sun, 1 Beseiju, a couple Carpelane Gorges to round out the mana base. Moving on to the sideboard, again, most of our sideboard is dedicated to our Karn package. We have 5 cards that aren't artifacts, so 2 Veil of Summer for control, and then 3 Brotherhood's End for... There's a lot of mono red. I've been finding a lot of red aggressive decks, so I kind of want to play Brotherhood's End on the board for those decks. And then the Karn targets. We have Tormod's Crypt for Phoenix and other graveyard-centric decks like Lurrus, Haywire Might for, I guess, Ring. It's probably the most relevant one, although when you have Karn in play, you're already shutting off Rings, so... I mean, it's just a good thing to have a Disenchant in your sideboard that Karn can fetch, so it's good utility. Pithing Needle mostly for Planeswalkers. I have found this deck kind of struggling against Oko, so Karn for Needle is a very good line against that particular strategy. Liquid Metal Coating. So this is actually the one that you probably, I would say, get the most frequently. I did mention earlier there's no more Stone Rain. The only Stone Rain in the format is actual Stone Rain, but if you Karn for Liquid Metal Coating, you can actually start blowing up your opponent's lands because you can turn their land into an artifact, and then Karn makes that artifact into a creature. It's a 0/0 because it has no mana value, and it just dies, so that can set up like an endless chain of Stone Rains. Stone Brain for the combo decks, like I said, Underworld Breach, Primeval Titan, sometimes even Field of the Dead if you don't have Blood Moon access. Those are kind of the most common names with this. One Ring if you're low on cards, Chalice against Death Shadow and other decks that feature a ton of 1-mana cards. Keep in mind that it does shut off your Lightning Bolts, so something to worth noting. Unlicensed Hearse, more Graveyard Hate for Phoenix, and then kind of the top-end stuff, Wormcoil Engine and Sundering Titan. Titan is very, very good against the kind of 4-color money pile decks, like Uro, Omnath, that kind of stuff, and then Wormcoil is just good to stabilize. So that is the deck list, very, very straightforward. Like I said, I've been having a ton of fun playing Timeless, and I really think you guys are going to like this deck, so I'll see you here in just a second for round number 1. Alright everybody, we are back here for our first match. Again, we're just playing ladder matches. What I will mention, I don't know if I should be saying this or not, but there is a creator clash, a Timeless creator clash happening this Friday, I believe Friday, January 6th, correct me if I'm wrong, 5th, excuse me. To my knowledge, I believe that is when it's happening, and I was asked to partake in that, so maybe we actually have a sort of a scheduled tournament format for Timeless, because I know you guys have been asking for that. As far as this hand is concerned, this is kind of exactly what you want, as we talked about in the intro, just Mana Accelerant into powerful 3-drops. If this gets Thoughtseize, then our hand kind of sucks, but we will just hope that that does not happen. That's a Delta. I'm going to lead on Forest here, because I want to make sure that we have as many basics in play before we play Blood Moon. Name Red. And then this Foothills can get a second Forest, and then we have double green, double red. Polluted Delta. It's interesting to see Polluted Delta without Luris. Typically those two are a very, very common pairing. Zagoth Triumph. So this could be some sort of like Sultai control deck. Good chance they have a counter spell for Blood Moon, but because we have two, I don't really care if the first one gets countered, because if the first one resolves, the game is probably over, and, well, there you go. I would not be surprised if there was a concession very, very shortly, unless they have some sort of red spells. They gave me the nice, which means, yeah, probably, seems like we're probably done here. Well, they can cast all of their lightning bolts and stuff. So maybe they're some sort of 4-color deck. Not likely. You gotta love, whenever they give you the nice, that means that you know you're doing something right. Don't need backup Blood Moon. I just want to discard the Halfling for more pressure. Guess I could have just cast the Halfling that turn. It's probably not super relevant. The classic Blood Moon Beseiju combo. Blow up their lid and give them a basic. Okay, well, I mean, again, this is kind of the exact reason why you play Mana Dorks plus Blood Moon in a format like this. So, again, we really only have a 5-card sideboard. Another really good part about playing Karn decks is you don't have to sideboard too much. I am probably going to bring in these Veils. So we'll bring in 2 Veils. I don't really know what I'm cutting, though. Can trim on Death Rites, maybe. Not sure if that's right. Could shave a Bolt. I don't want to cut any of my 3s. Clothis seems really good. Seems fine. There is some consideration to sideboarding out Karn the Great Creator in some numbers against Thoughtseize. Like, the card itself is kind of weird against Thoughtseize, where, like, if you play Karn and you get your best thing in your sideboard and they Thoughtseize your best thing, you no longer have access to it for, you know, for that card and for future Karns, so it can be a little dicey sometimes, but, you know, it's also really good against counter spells because you have 4... One thing I didn't mention, too, in the intro is Delighted Halfling is insane in this deck because you can make both Karn and the One Ring uncounterable. So, you know, keep that in mind. The reason I'm choosing to play Utopia Sprawl here is if I play Halfling on one and they have Fatal Push, that means then I won't be able to cast the 3-mana spell. I am going to trade this for a counter spell. Seems pretty likely they have it, but that's also fine. Can hopefully draw a land next turn to double spell. But yeah, Delighted Halfling is really sick in this deck. Okay, there's the Uro. Hopefully we can maybe draw a Blood Moon here to seal it up. I do have 1 basic. Okay, that's not a Blood Moon, but we can double spell. I'm going to lead on Fable, I think. Just because Fable kind of, sort of, does the same thing as Pyromancer in the sense of... Ooh, I have not seen Reclamation yet. Okay, let's get rid of... probably Deathrite Bolt, honestly. Okay, there's a Blood Moon. Not that it's likely to resolve. Although they only have 2 cards, so there's a chance. And maybe I can bait 1, 2, 3, 4. I do have 6 mana, so maybe I can bait a counterspell with Pyromancer. Perhaps. I was gonna say not very likely. Discard these other Pyromancers. Alright, well, I mean, they probably have a counterspell, but I'm still gonna go for it. Because if they don't have a counterspell, we probably just win. Blue, green, green. Okay. I'm intrigued. Thought they were going to activate Castle in response, but... Float double blue. What is this? Double blue. What do you got for me? Okay, sure. That's fine. We can just go for it again next turn. And they don't even have nearly enough cards for this Uro. Okay. So that lets them double Castle, right? End step, float a mana, untap, Castle. Yeah, they can double Castle here, but if this last card's not a counterspell or some way to answer Blood Moon, they are in big, big trouble next turn. 2 on the bottom. And I have to imagine if they had a counterspell, they probably would have cast it last turn instead of Otawara, so I think there's a pretty high likelihood that this Blood Moon does not get countered. And like I said, that's probably just game over. Might as well Sprawl first. Name red. Blood Moon. And, alright, well. Just gonna put more stuff into play. I'm losing the ring, but it just doesn't matter at this point. Okay, they do have the second Otawara. But again, only 3 cards for this Uro. I wonder what their big payoff for Rec is. Oh, probably Nexus, right? Yeah, Nexus is legal in this format. So, maybe they have a Nexus here. They do. Okay. So they can Nexus and then Scry with the last untap. Man, I'm just going to keep casting this Blood Moon. What's funny about Nexus is it doesn't go to the graveyard for Uro. They do keep a card on top. Could be another Nexus. Okay. It's pretty good, because then they get to cast that from the graveyard with Rec. Oh. Well, I was going to, fast forward a bunch until the point where they started taking all the turns, and I guess they just didn't find their Nexus. Cool. Okay, well, I guess we won. Yeah, they didn't have enough mana left over to Memory Deluge after the Wilderness Wreck untap, so I don't know. Blood Moon doing some Blood Moon things, and that was a pretty good showing for this deck. So round number 2, just a second. Now, I gotta say, one nice thing about this time the Ponza deck is that the rounds do not take very long. So if you're into some very, very quick games, this is a good deck for you, and this is exactly what we're looking for. You know, Mana Dork, turn 2 Stone Ring, turn 3 Ring. This is what we call the nuts. So because they have their own death rate, I'm actually going to lead with Halfling. This is kind of the one reason I didn't want to play Death Rate Shaman is when they're on the play and they have death rate and you have yours, if they just leave theirs untapped, you can't use yours for mana. So my initial build of this deck only had Halfling and Sprawl, but then I was playing a bunch of games and I just didn't have an Accelerant as often as I would like, so I decided to try the Death Rites, but when you're on the draw in the Death Rate mirror, they are super awkward. That is one thing to keep in mind. Okay, there's an Uro. I mean, Death Rite into Uro putting a land into play is pretty good against Stone Rain. Okay, looks like they don't have a Fatal Push. Oh, well, that's a pretty good draw. Granted, they have basic Swamp, Delta, which can find Island, and then this can bait green. So it's actually not as good. I'm wondering if I should Stone... No. I'm wondering if I should Stone Rain first, but I think I should still Blood Moon here. Then I could just Stone Rain the Island next turn. Kind of like make them fetch it here, if you know what I mean. I think it makes sense to me. they're going to get their island, which is annoying, but they're still, you know, if they don't have an answer to the Blood Moon, if they can't remove it from the table, then they're just never casting this Uro. So I think it's okay. I'm assuming they have basic island, right? Yeah, there's the island. Yeah, we could just... I think I'd rather pop the island than the swamp. Okay, it's good, but... It's only good if they can actually cast spells off of it. I was going to say I wouldn't mind drawing a land here. I am still just going to Stone Rain. Cut them off as many basics as possible. Missing a land drop kind of tough. Because they're likely going to find Fatal Push off this One Ring. If they don't already have it. Alright, we are making black mana. Oh, that is not a card I expected, but is a card that's going to be very, very hard for me to beat. Guess I should have killed the swamp. Yeah, well, this is when keeping it Blood Moon goes wrong. So if we take 4, go to 10, we are probably very, very dead here. Interesting. I haven't seen a lot of Shieldred in these Sultai decks, but again, it does kind of make sense. I'm not even sure we have a way out of this. Because our only out the Shieldred is like double Bolt, which we only have one red source. This doesn't make red for Bolt. Alright, well, you know. I guess that was like play versus draw. They notably did discard Counterspell there. 2 Counterspells, actually, so definitely want to bring in the Veils. Yeah, that was just like play versus draw. If I was in the play, I think I would have won that game easily. I'm just going to cut 2 Deathrights in the Deathrite Mirror. Even though I'm on the play, they can still be kind of awkward, because I don't have black mana, so my Deathrights are not as good as theirs. So, something to keep in mind. Alright, game 2. We get to be in the play. I have Blood Moon, but I don't have an Accelerant. Is this good enough? This hand is really bad if they have turn 1 Deathrite. I think I'm actually going to mulligan this. I have just been mulliganing super aggressively to Mana Dorks. I don't know if that's right, but that's what I've been doing. I can definitely keep this. Do it like this, and then this gets Forest. And pray no Fatal Push. Could have kept the third land over the ring and play around Fatal Push, but it's worse against Thoughtseize. Okay. They open on basic Swamp, too. It's not great. Okay, thankfully they have Bloodstained Mire as their second fetch, which only gets them a second Swamp. As far as basics are concerned. Yeah. Double Deathrite. Okay. Well, I mean, I kind of have to cast this Blood Moon. Do I want double red or double green? Probably would rather have double red. So let's just go pay 2, get a basic mountain. I don't feel super great about this game, though, with them having basic swamp, double Deathrite with, you know, 4 fetch lands in the graveyard between us. Good chance maybe they have something like Assassin's Trophy or Abrupt Decay. Making blue. Not making black, so looks like no Shieldred, thankfully. That's also pretty bad. Well, we are not winning this game. I don't know if you've ever had to play a game against an active Oko Thief of Crowns, but typically it, you know, it usually gets old after the first 2 activations. If this dies and I don't draw land, I'm probably just gonna concede. That might just be good enough for me. take one draw step. If I can slam a ring this turn, maybe, but probably not. So I'll pop this. No reason to keep it in play. Can we draw a land? We can. Do they have counterspell? If they counter this, I'm out of here. There are 2 lands in the graveyard for the death rights. Okay. Okay. Got a chance. Not really, because they can just Oko the ring. Yeah, we're just drawing a bunch of nonsense. They have active ring. Probably safe to pack this one in. Especially if they cast Shieldred. Alright, yep, I'm out of here. Well, that was an unfortunate game. I think game 1 was essentially decided by play/draw. And then game 2, like, we kind of got to do our thing. I mean, I did mold a 5, which didn't help, but yeah, they had multiple death rights, had the basic in the opener, so they were kind of very easily able to play around Blood Moon, which a lot of decks are not capable of doing, but it looks like maybe our opponent got Blood Moon one too many times, and they said, I've had enough. So that was match number 2. Let's go to match number 3. All right, everybody, back here for the third and final round. This is the rubber match, I guess, if you call it. So we have a whole bunch of mana. We're on the draw. I'm going to keep this. No actual payoff. Okay, payoff kind of located. Let's lead with fetch. I'm going to lead with Sprawl. Typically, against these kinds of decks, you want to lead with Sprawl. I'm going to name green because I have 2 Stomping Grounds in hand. So the reason you want to lead with Sprawl over Deathright is, one, well, they don't have their own Deathright, but they are very likely to be a Lightning Bolt or Fatal Push deck. So I don't want them to be able to kill my mana production. Okay, it looks like they're the Storm variant. That's usually what Stitcher Supplier means. Yeah, there's the Breach too, so definitely the more combo-centric version, which I don't think is an awful matchup, especially with Karn, because Karn shuts off Bauble, and Karn also gets Tormod's Crypt. Tormod's Crypt can be kind of powerful against them if they go for a Breach. It's gonna bolt me. Creature, artifact. Funny, we gave them Delirium. That's pretty hilarious. I could have considered killing the Channeler before casting Stone Rain, but don't think that was correct. Kill this first, and then we can go fetch for a basic. So this is actually a matchup I might want to name Black with Utopia Sprawl to have access to Deathright Shaman eating instant sorceries. So let's do that. We already have double Rabbit Stomping Grounds, so I think it's actually fine. We can just play both of these. Got a whole bunch of mana. Okay, Fatal Push Deathright. Now my black mana is probably mostly irrelevant. Ideally looking for a Karn, would also accept the One Ring. Both of those very, very good draw steps here. I mean, I'll take a Fable. Could be worse. I'm going to hold the land in hand to discard to Fable. Now they get to go Luris plus, I would imagine, Channeler. Yep. Most likely Channeler here. Yep, makes sense. Need to find a payoff. Get rid of these 2 lands, and a card that we can't cast, because I don't have double red. I could attack with the Shaman token. Probably fine. I mean, they just get to eat it with the Channeler, which sucks. Yeah. So, Deathright, and then Pyromancer. Get a little punish for naming Black, I guess. We weren't able to find a Bolt for the Luris, so that kind of helps, but we're getting dangerously low here. Like, we're already down to 8, and they have a 3/3 flyer. Okay, fetch 3 cards in hand. Larissa's gone, though, which helps. Or are we just dead? I believe we are dead to a breach. Yeah, that certainly kills us. Okay. So, that was game 1. Did we want anything in the sideboard? Again, our sideboard only consists of Veil and Brotherhood's End. Veil could be okay against Thoughtseize. I don't know if it's better than any of the cards that are in our deck, though. Brotherhood's End, not typically that good. Like, it does kind of clean up Channeler, but it seems super narrow. Like, if they have a hand that is like a fast breach hand with like Supplier plus Tutor plus Ritual, the Brotherhood's End just doesn't do much against those draws, so I think I'm just going to run it back and hope that we can find our Karns or Rings. Yeah, this matchup, haven't played against it a ton from the red-green side of things. I have been playing my opponent's deck too, the Rakdos Storm deck. I do like that deck quite a bit. Alright, game number 2, we will definitely choose to play first, and Deathrite Stone Rain Karn, definitely going to keep this hand. Let's go Windswept for a basic. And hope that our opponent does not have a removal spell for our Deathrite Shaman. That would be ideal. Hopefully just play like a Stitcher Supplier. Yeah, that's fine. A-okay with that. I guess I'll just get, I don't know, a mountain? Not sure it matters too much. Let's get our land out of here. Choose red, and get this Blackleaf Cliffs out of my game. Please and thank you. I do find it pretty hilarious that this card's a rare. That is, you know, a lot of people have been talking about whether or not they want to get into Timeless, and the most common argument against it seems to be that there are a lot of these cards like Stone Rain, Dark Ritual, Counterspell, Lightning Bolt that are commons in paper. They're just rares on Moto, and that is kind of a frustrating part, and I do sympathize with that. I don't think I could Bolt, like Bolt Ragavan, leave Deathrite Shaman untapped. If I go Karn down tick for Ring, they can kill Karn. How much do I care about that? They could also, like, Bolt Karn, attack, and then turn on the treasure token. The thing is, it's just, like, it's such an efficient use of my mana to do it this way that I think I'm supposed to just play Karn here. And, like, if they attack Karn, it's not the end of the world. What is the end of the world is if they have Thoughtseize. If they Thoughtseize my Ring, then kill Karn, it's really bad for me. But if they don't have the Thoughtseize and they can only attack Karn, then it's like kind of fine. Oh, am I just dead? There's no way I'm dead, right, when they have no cards in graveyard? Okay. Guess they're trying to find Delirium, which they did hit. Okay. Well, we have Bolt for that. It hit me with Ragavan. Do they also have Thoughtseize? That would be an insane turn. Okay, so let's go Bolt this Bowmaster. Definitely have to play Ring here. Get rid of their pathway. Green, play Ring. And we just kind of have to hope from here that we can find some spells. Spells are pretty nice. Big fan of drawing more spells and less lands. Generally a pretty big fan of that. Okay, they sack Supplier to Tower. Even if they can, like, find Breach and Storm off, they can't kill us this turn because they can't target us with Bolt or Tendrils. So we should have at least one turn of reprieve. But we need to draw pretty well here. That, like, kind of sort of counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 mana. So why don't we just go Halfling Ring. Get this out of here. Green, Halfling Ring, tap land. Keep the new one. Draw a card. Okay, I don't think Blood Moon is particularly good because they have this treasure. That's the awkward part. If it weren't for this treasure, they would actually have access to no black mana if I Blood Moon them. So if we can find a Karn, we can go Karn, uptick, kill the treasure, play Blood Moon. Sure. They don't really... Do they have a good Breach turn? Not really. They don't have a Bauble. Probably just going to play... My guess would be Bowmaster. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that makes the ring a little bit more awkward. Okay, they did have a Bauble. Well, notably now Blood Moon cuts them entirely off black mana. Oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. I do in fact have protection, so I will not block. Need to find a Karn here, though. Karn would be a very, very big draw step. So if I activate Ring, they can kill one of my creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana with a land drop. I mean, I just don't really see myself winning this game unless I find Karn. So we kind of just have to go for it. They just have too much stuff on the battlefield. Yeah, I guess those Brotherhood's End would look pretty good now, huh? Okay, so I can, I guess, exile a land, make a red. Can't imagine this is good enough, though. So we can go red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. I could Pyromancer into the Bowmaster, but that's also pretty bad. Yeah, I just don't think we're getting out of this. Okay, GG's, GG's. That matchup seems a little tough. It's probably a lot easier if you can both draw and cast Karn, because their deck is like... I mean, I guess we did cast a Karn that game, but maybe I shouldn't have gotten Ring. I don't know. Maybe it's possible that I should have maybe just gotten Tormod's Crypt. But the issue with getting Tormod's Crypt is, at the time that I played Ring, I didn't really have a lot of gas left in the tank, and I wanted to make sure that I had this to be able to find more gas, but turns out we didn't really find any spells that were super relevant at, with the current board state. So that was match 3, so let's go ahead and talk about the deck real quick. So not the most impressive showing from the Pawns deck with a 1-2 finish, but some things to be worked on. The Deathrite Shamans, those were relatively new additions, and they seem to not be the most effective. Maybe you should just be playing this deck with only 8 mana accelerants. Maybe it's 2 Deathrites, not sure what the correct number is. But, I mean, when we were able to... when this deck fires on all cylinders, when you have the Mana Dork into Blood Moon, into Karn or Ring draws, those just feel completely unbeatable. But it does have the problem of drawing the wrong half of its deck too often, because you are a deck, again, that plays 11 mana sources, and frequently when you're on the draw, it's not clear that Stone Rain is an effective plan, especially if your opponent's also playing with stuff like Deathrite Shaman and Delated Halfling, or Ragavan as well. So there definitely is some play-draw scenario type things that are going on a lot. The play-draw matters a ton with a deck like this. So that's something to keep in mind. Not really sure how to address that problem. I don't know how you would make a deck like this better on the draw, with the exception of maybe playing more 1-mana removal, but we're not really getting Delirious that often, so Heat doesn't really seem like an effective card. But yeah, past that, I think everything else is pretty good. Maybe the sideboard needs a little bit of work. I'm not sure if you need all of these Karn targets. The ones that seem the most impactful to me are Tormod's Crypt, Liquid Metal Coating, Stonebrain, Ring, and then one of the big fatties, either Wormcoil or Sundering Titan. But honestly, the rest I could kind of take or leave. So keep that in mind. Maybe it's better to just play more actual sideboard cards. What I could see is like a scenario where you maybe want to cut Stone Rain going second against a Death Red Shaman deck because it's just not that effective of a plan. Maybe for more removal, like sideboard Torch the Tower or Unholy Heat or something like that. So some things to think about, but I do like the archetype, and I will probably be spending some more time on it. So if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to let me know what you thought. Do you guys enjoy the timeless content? I got some more up the pipeline, and with all of that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.